Greetings and welcome, this is KYC News for you. Today we will see how Russia could punish Lithuania for the Kaliningrad blockade. Stay tuned and get entertained. How Russia could punish Lithuania for the Kaliningrad blockade. Lithuania's prohibition on some items being transported via its territory to Kaliningrad is what sparked the latest crisis. You can go through Lithuania or the sea to get to the Russian outpost. Moscow is actively considering ways to put Lithuania in danger. However, Russia has little economic impact on it. It raises the possibility of a violent reaction. Despite the fact that Lithuania belongs to NATO, the transit restriction became effective on June 18. Vilnius only issued a warning about it on the eve, as Russia alleges. According to Lavrov's department, initially it was solely a rail line, but later Lithuania also outlawed road traffic. According to a summons from the Russian Foreign Ministry, if freight transportation is not quickly restored in full, Russia has the right to take legal measures to safeguard its own interests. Vilnius did, in fact, stop the flow of steel and other ferrous metals on June 18. Restrictions were put in place specifically for this. Additionally, as on July 10, cement, timber, alcohol, and even caviar will be added to the list of items that cannot be transported. Oil and oil-based items will be prohibited starting on December 5. Russia, and Kaliningrad in particular, may be worst hurt by this. As a result, Lithuania makes the case that Russia ought to have been aware of the impending EU penalties long ago. Therefore, it is obvious that their claims are improbable. The European Union's High Representative for Foreign Policy, Josep Borrell, backed Lithuania as well. There is no blockage, he declared. Russia yet has a point. After all, transportation moves from one part of Russia to another, not to foreign nations. The international agreement between Russia and Lithuania also reminded Russia that access to Kaliningrad via Lithuania is assured. Russians have great respect for international agreements when they benefit from them. Finally, Borrell emphasized that more clarification is still required about the Kaliningrad problem while defending Lithuania. Similar in their stance, the opposed Lithuanian Social Democrats are calling for a parliamentary inquiry on the blockage. But as is frequently the case, Russia has opted for intimidation and threats over diplomatic relations. We can suppose that Russia might employ force if there is no energy constraint on them. The Suwałki Gap, a region on the Lithuanian-Polish border that creates a 70-kilometer passage between Belarus and Kaliningrad, was dubbed the most deadly spot on Earth by politicians. Putin's transit front: what problems Lithuania caused for Russia and possible repercussions. Now it's Lithuania's turn as Russia renews its threat. The Russian enclave of Kaliningrad, which may be accessible by sea or by Lithuania, was the source of the current crisis since Vilnius had banned the transportation of products that had been sanctioned there. Moscow was incensed by this move since, in their estimation, over 50% of the travel to the Kaliningrad area is obstructed. Moscow is now considering what action Lithuania should take. The fact that Russia has so few economic levers of leverage is crucial. And this raises the possibility that, despite Lithuania's NATO membership, a strong response will be given. Ban, expected unexpected. In a letter to Lithuania's charge d'affaires, the Russian Foreign Ministry stated, if freight transit between the Kaliningrad region and the rest of the Russian Federation through Lithuania is not fully restored in the near future, Russia reserves the right to take action to protect its national interests. Embrace. On June 18, the transit restriction went into effect. However, Vilnius didn't provide a warning about it until the previous evening, as was the case in Russia. Lavrov's department explains that while first just rail travel was prohibited, subsequently it was also made illegal to use cars for transportation. The Lithuanian Foreign Ministry issued a statement stating that the transit of persons and products, which are not included by the EU sanctions system, to and from the Kaliningrad area continues through the territory of Lithuania. In actuality, limitations were placed on Russian metallurgical goods on June 18 when a prohibition on their passage via the EU went into effect. Additionally, as on July 10, cement, timber, wine, and even caviar will be added to the list of products that cannot be transported. The biggest blow to Russia in general and the Kaliningrad area in particular may come with the restriction on oil and oil products starting on December 5. As a result, according to Lithuania, the sanctions in Russia should have been aware of the anticipated EU penalties, making the claims obviously unfounded. Josep Borrell, the EU's High Representative for International Relations and Security Policy, likewise endorsed Lithuania by stating that there is no embargo. Only the movement of commodities that are forbidden from export, import, or transit via the EU has been halted. Furthermore, Lithuania is acting in accordance with the directives of the European Commission, thus it is not at fault here, he added. In Russia, there is one disagreement, though. After all, we're talking about preventing transit, which moves between regions of Russia rather than to foreign nations. Additionally, the international agreement between Russia and Lithuania ensures the efficient functioning of transit to the Kaliningrad area, which is recalled in Russia. When they benefit, the Russians have great respect for international agreements. Such a defense may allow Russia some, not great, but nevertheless opportunities to get the transit from Kaliningrad exempted from sanctions. The Kaliningrad problem still has to be clarified, Borrell said, adding that he was standing with Lithuania. The opposition Lithuanian Social Democrats, who want a parliamentary hearing on the embargo, have adopted a similar stance. Russia, as is frequently the case, has instead decided to use intimidation and threats rather than diplomatic ways. Pressure technique to such unfriendly activities, Russia will undoubtedly respond. Interdepartmental plans for pertinent actions are now being developed, and they will be implemented soon. The population of Lithuania will be impacted by their effects. Secretary of the Russian Security Council Nikolai Patrushev made a threat. This assertion, along with several others made by lower-ranking speakers, demonstrates Russia's readiness for confrontation in order to put Lithuania and the EU at risk and pressure them to make concessions. Gas is Russia's primary weapon. Vilnius has maintained a policy of foregoing Russian gas for many years, nevertheless. As a result, Lithuania was the first nation in the EU to declare a categorical rejection of buying gas from Russia. Liquefied natural gas entering the LNG port in Klaipėda will take its place. Patrushev will criticize the ineffectiveness of the mirror transport blockade of Lithuania and the rejection of the Klaipėda port. The eventual departure of the Baltic ports will not have the same impact it did 10 or 20 years ago, since Russia has long sought a substitute. The only area where Lithuania is still dependent is on electrical sources. Like other Baltic nations, Lithuania is still a part of the Bell energy ring, consisting of Russia, Belarus, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Not all of this is straightforward, though. First, Belarus rather than Russia is where Lithuania purchases its power. Second, despite all of Russia's attempts to establish prospects for its electrical self-sufficiency, such a blockade will also affect the Kaliningrad area. Most importantly, Vilnius was also involved in the creation of this situation. They assert that they are prepared to swiftly cut off from the EC Bell and start receiving power from the EU in the case of a blockade. Force can be presumed to be used in the absence of energy pressure measuring devices. The most deadly spot in the world, according to Politico, is the Suwalki Corridor, a 70-kilometer stretch of land along the Lithuanian-Polish border that connects Belarus to the Kaliningrad region. By revamping Kaliningrad's logistics, Russia is presently attempting to find a solution. Specifically, imposing fines on ferry companies to make them stop transporting ordinary items. This move could be a temporary success, but once the new restrictions go into effect, it will be obvious that there is not enough ferry capacity. In Russia, it is estimated that the sanctions will affect up to 50% of transportation to the Kaliningrad region. Therefore, Russia doesn't have much time to exert pressure on the EU to make the required adjustments. This indicates that if blackmail does not succeed, then rate increases are required. So, hybrid power possibilities cannot be completely ruled out. For instance, military drills in the Baltic Sea will momentarily stop Lithuania's access to liquefied natural gas. Although Lithuania won't be intimidated by the action, Brussels could be impressed. And this is perhaps the crisis' biggest risk. After all, as experience has shown, any accommodation to Putin just serves to strengthen his pressure. We really hope that you learned the most from this video. If so, please like it and remember to subscribe to this channel for more. Enjoy your time.